Call the meeting to order, all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, all members are present. Have approval of the agenda. We have 3 changes. We have 6D has been scratched from the agenda, Great River Regional Library Report. And an addition of 7G, approved final pay request airport runway project. And 7H, approved seasonal employment and advertisement park/campground.
Mayor?
Yes.
But city engineer is also going to give just kind of a report on how we get going for the North Side project for 2019. So we just under unfinished business report.
Okay. So we'll have 8D, engineers report. Any other additions, corrections? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes with those changes, or I mean the agenda with those changes? Motion to approve. Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes, February 6, 2019, regular meeting. I'll receive them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, clarification? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 6, 2019 meeting?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion by Joe, second by Diane. Any other questions or comments? Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 3 in favor, none against, 2 abstentions. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Call it 3rd time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Seeing no one, public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. Brings us to our reports and presentations. Police Department monthly report. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, you all have a copy of the 2018 annual report in front of you. Kind of go through that real quick then. Hope you all had time to look it over. If you look at the page 13 there, a lot of the numbers are pretty comparable. We gave out more administrative citations this year than last year there. And we also assisted businesses quite a bit more the way it looks there. A lot of that was Walmart, I believe, activity there. Where else? We had, if you notice the special detail, that was doubled, and that's just a lot of our documenting our own patrolling, like our impound lot and a lot of other sites around the city that we like to document it, and that kind of falls into that category. So that's why that's up. Just wanted our guys to pinpoint times that they did patrolling at some of these various places in our community, so we have it documented. So otherwise, the total ICRs there, you'll see for 2018, we're 9,190 compared to 8,243 for 2017. So up quite a bit, as well it should be with adding an officer. Page 14 there. We had 51 DWI arrests. That's up from 40 in 2017. 14 of those 50 DWIs were under the influence of a controlled substance arrest. Then you have the breakdown of the DWI alcohol, how they broke down for degrees. March we had 8 arrests, and August we had 8 arrests, so those were 2 big months for DWI. Under the age drinking, you see that number is not so significant. It's been quite down the last few years, so that's a good sign. Page 15, some of the bigger crimes that we have in our city, you'll see that thefts were down slightly from 2017. We had 57 compared to 62 in 2017. Robberies, we had none. Assaults, you see, were up. We had 11 in 2018 compared to 4 in 2017. Burglaries were down. We had 8 burglaries compared to 14 in 2017. And more arsons. So, numbers are pretty good. Page 16, traffic violations. I see they're all very comparable, except for the no proof of insurance, and the speeding citations are way down. So you see our community is, with our proactive, our enforcement, I believe, has really helped with getting our public, making sure they have insurance and curbing the speeding in our cities. So I think that's a good thing. Accidents were down, pretty comparable to 2017. We had 90 this year and 104 last year. At the bottom there, assists for other agencies. They're all pretty comparable. Melrose, you see, we pretty much doubled assisting them last year. I think they were down with personnel, so we ended up helping them out with it. So, that's the reason for that. So I think they're up to par now, so that should be a little better. Page 17. Arrests for drug paraphernalia and marijuana. See that that's down considerably from 2017. We had 40 paraphernalia compared to 70 last year. And we had 30, just over 30 marijuana arrests compared to 50 last year. So that's down. Controlled substance, that's also down. In the last, you see the warrant arrest that we have, that's very comparable to 2017. We did have more felony arrests for warrants though. I'm going through this kind of fast, so.
That's fine.
The canine statistics from Sergeant Jensen and Sonny, you'll see that the marijuana was drastically increased for his stats, and that has to do with the basically from the 102 pounds of marijuana on one traffic stop that he had in the trunk of a vehicle of a speeding violation. So that's why that number is so high right there. Methamphetamine is way up. You see, pretty much along with all of them are up quite a bit. So you see Sergeant Jensen and Sonny are out there with all the sergeant's other duties. He's still, him and Sonny are still trying to curb the drug issues. You see the picture there of the 2.42 grams of methamphetamine that we also had on a traffic stop. Next page on 19. the calls per hour. I'm always amazed how, if you look at the lines, how they compare to each year. And you'll see that the calls per hour are very comparable to the last couple of years, same with the calls per day. The calls per month, it looked like our highest call months were maybe May through June there of last year. Next page, page 20, forfeitures. Sauk Center Police Department retained $7,247.59 in forfeitures, and that's a decrease slightly from $7,892.59 in 2017. The funds came from 7 vehicles, 3 guns, and 3 cash forfeitures. One of the forfeitures were alcohol-related offenses, the remaining 12 were drug-related offenses. We also had 2 abandoned vehicles, which were sold for salvage for $244.30. Training. You see that the cost of the training we had was $12,023.72. And that consisted of $9,614.58 in salary, $65 for meals, $304.15 for transportation, and $389.46 for lodging. A lot of our officers do the patrol courses, which is an online training now, and we pay $720 per year for that training. So each month the guys are trying to get 1 or 2 of those classes done, which is kind of nice. They can do it on their squad laptop while sitting on Main Street observing traffic and doing class at the same time. So it's kind of beneficial. The budget portion there. We'll read through it, but we had an excess at the end of the year of $36,987.23 to the good. That's before the audit. So maybe that's what it could be way off. He says it's close. And of course, the next page there, you see we're still having activities with the community. We, have the night to unite and the shop with the cop and a lot of the other functions and training classes we help with at the school and for other community organizations that we speak for and speak on safety. And also Sergeant Jensen does a lot of demonstrations with Sunny, with a lot of different organizations, so I think that's been a real good thing. And basically the last page here is my summary of the year. I don't think I need to read that, but pretty much just does the highlights of what we just discussed. So, like I say, the last paragraph there, we have a department with 128 years of experience with our 7 guys and our data entry staff, and it's quite amazing for a small department to not have that turnover. So it's a very good thing for us and the community, I think. So, and of course, I want to thank the city staff, was always a great help every year for everything they do, and thank Melissa for putting this great report together, for helping get the stats together, and for all her help that she that I bug her with every day, all year long. So puts up with a lot, and of course the guys out there working, they do a great job up there. I think we get a lot of compliments, and I think they're very professional, and I think they do their job very well. So I want to thank them for making my life pretty easy. So it helps a lot. Otherwise, that's the year. If anyone has questions on that.
Any questions? Monthly report?
Yeah, then we'll do the monthly for January 2019. Let's see, we had quite a lot of alarms, 27 alarm calls. Sergeant Jensen did 2 canine assists for other agencies. We had 9 motorist assists, 34 personal assists, 66 business assists, We did 23 assists for other agencies, 24 citizen contacts. We had 16 medicals, 8 accidents, 22 school patrols. We had a total verbal warnings of 125, total activity of 618. So compare that to December of 2018, it's very comparable. We're up 72 calls, down in warnings by 83. So compare that to, very comparable. So, otherwise, that's all we had in January, besides all the snow and cold weather.
Questions? Comments? Thank you for the good job.
Yes, thank you.
Thank all your patrolmen and Melissa for the calls.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works monthly report. Kevin?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What we've been up to lately, snow plowing and snow hauling have consumed the majority of our time the past few weeks with the recurring snowstorms that have been at least 1 to 2 per week. We have stayed busy trying to keep the streets clear and haul in the meantime. We also have continued to maintain the outdoor ice rink. This has been very popular on the weekends. Dennis works on the weekends there. He gets a lot of kids coming out there and getting a lot of use out of it, so that's a good thing to have. The hockey season is going to be coming to a close at the end of next week, and we will take the ice out sometime in March after the season concludes. Just some things we're looking at. We're looking at some equipment updates for the future, and one of the things we've noted is our current skid loader trailer is in need of replacement. A couple of problems with it. There are no trailer brakes installed on this trailer. It never came with them. They're just non-existent. And we'd like to upgrade to one that does have trailer brakes for safety purposes. Our current trailer is also undersized and can't fit our equipment that we haul properly. So I guess I would like to request your approval to go forth with getting estimates to replace our current trailer with something that would be safer to use and size properly for our equipment.
This is something that we can bring up. It won't be an action item tonight.
I'm just looking to get your approval to get some estimates and then we can look at it from there.
Also, looking for that. We can go ahead and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll get some estimates and then we'll go from there. Okay, that's everything that I have. Any questions?
Is that it?
Yep.
Any questions?
You're not running out of room with the snow, are you?
It's building up, so we're trying to get it out of the way when it's not snowing.
When we did have that one snow emergency, everything went pretty smooth or?
Doing very good, yep. The PD did a good job getting all the cars out of the way. They only had to tow 2 cars and they were very helpful with getting all the people move their cars, so that worked really good. We didn't have any problems with cars in our way after that.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
6E, CBP annual report. Pam?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just, you have all the information in front of you, and I'm just going to hit some highlights that I want to cover. As far as our income is concerned, we are up $5,000 from last year, and which is about a 10% increase, which was good. We didn't have any major construction developments, things that were out of town that created any of this. So we did fill our lodging places with visitors, so that's very good. Just back to some accomplishments. We've done mostly the same types of ads, some paper ads. We're working more on our social marketing. We did do a coupon pamphlet for the downtown businesses that we put in all of our visitor guides that we sent out. Gave them to all the hotels. They're really meant for visitors coming into town, and that's on an attachment beyond the letter. So you can take a look at that. That'll be revised again this spring, and again, that'll go out to all those places, the hotels and all the visitors guides that are sent out. We do have the Minnesota State Band coming on July 17th at no cost. That is one of the only state bands in the United States, and they have grant money, and they saw our dome, and they want to come and perform in it. So we've made arrangements. There's 44 members of the band, and we've made arrangements for them to have dinner at the Legion and then perform in the band shell for that evening. So we're pretty excited about that. And that is at no cost to any of us, which is even better. We did change our name to Visit Sauk Center, which I believe represents more of who we are and what we do. I've had less conversation about what does CBD stand for, and it seems to be a good fit. There's a lot of cities that do use that as their logo, and it seems appropriate for us to do that also. Some of the Google Analytics are on there. You can review that later. I did put in some questions about our sessions are shorter and our bounce rates are higher. And I would like to see that change. I'd like to see our sessions longer than 55 seconds on our website, and I would like to see a bounce rate of back down to 45 to 50%. And I think at some of the Explore Minnesota tourism meetings that I've attended, marketing is changing, websites are changing. We are going to be doing some changing also with videos and 360 videos, and those seem to be more in keeping with what people are looking for now. They want to know where they're going, they want to know what it looks like, and both your Facebook and your websites get greater traffic if those are a part of the marketing. So we'll be looking at that. Facebook, we have 1,562 followers. That's a little bit down, but that changes from year to year. I'm not concerned about 100 people. There was probably 75 today that wanted to be visitors and followers, so that's a pretty stable number. Promotions for 2019, we have a couple of big opportunities coming along. For sure, we have the Bike Across America coming to stay overnight here on August 15th, pardon me. They wanted to stay up by the arena because they wanted to be close in case it was inclement weather. They didn't want to be in the park. So talked to Vicki, and she thought that that could be open for some other amenities if we wanted it. They could probably have catering up there in the top level of the arena, could maybe use the showers. They are bringing a shower truck, that type of thing. They are pretty well contained. They're a little different than the bike troop that we had here a couple of years ago, in that many of these people, 30 to 40% of them, stay in hotels. They don't camp. And so this group has already rented the entire American for that, and other places will be seeing that overflow too. So that'll be good for our lodging. So they stay over one night and then they're gone. So I'll work with the Parks Department and make sure that things are set up and run well. The other promotion that we are Possibly in line 4 is the Midwest Vintage Snowmobile Show. This is a huge show that's been going on 26 years in Waconia, and they are leaving Waconia and are looking for a new site. We are one of 6 sites that they are looking at. They will be coming on the 19th of March to do a site study, and I have brought down to them Dave Wonderscheid, I, Stacy Michaels, and the head of the Snow Fleets went down to check this festival out. Very big. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of people in town, 7,000 to 8,000 attendees. I did aerials of the campground, the lake, the fairgrounds, the trail. They are very interested in 24-hour food service, and so the Truckers Inn is very, they like the fact that we have 24-hour service around here. But just as an idea, they have the Lions do the cooking, and they have big grates, and they cook pork chops. They go through 2,500 pork chops, they go through 1,500 hamburgers, 500 hot dogs, 30 gallons of chili, 30 gallons of beans in 2 days. So there is a lot of commerce that can be enjoyed. If we get on this list and they choose us, we'll have to work, all of our departments will have to work to make this workable, because it's going to be a huge job. They have also offered to come up and help, volunteer to help the first couple of years get it under, so that it runs well and we know what we're doing. So that's real positive. Very good people. Was really impressed with how they've got it set up and how they run it. So we'll see. So that'll be coming, fairly soon. It's in January of 2020, and it's usually at the end of January. So should know something before that. The other thing that we're looking forward to is I'm working with the Herald on Ladies' Night Out. I asked them to move it forward so that we could try to put a 2-day or 3-day event together to get people to stay in the Sauk Center. So the Ladies' Night Out is going to be the 16th of May this year. And then the 17th is a day of just fun golf clinics, get people into town. The Lynx would serve lunch out there. It would not be formal, mostly formal teaching, it'd just be fun. They would have all the golf clubs, everything you need. It's just to get people out and doing something different. They then would can come to town. There'd be dinner on their own, but there'd be free music at the Palmer House and possibly in the next door bar. They haven't quite decided yet. The next day then would be an art fair that would encompass time from 11 to 4 in the afternoon. And I put a request in to ask for the closure of St. Lewis Avenue from Main Street west to Elm Street, and use the parking facilities on Oak Street as part of vendors who may have food, that type of thing. This will be artists who, not your usual, no offense, but Tupperware, these are regular professional artists, photography, jewelry, repurposing, artwork, that type of artist we're looking at. And so we're hoping to make this an annual event and to create something that brings visitors and keeps visitors in town overnight or several nights. We're also working on getting QR codes for the murals so that when people come to visit, they can scan the QR code and go to YouTube and look at photographs and the history of the murals as they were being built or painted. And it also would give us, as the Visitors Bureau, a better count of visitors that come into Sauk Center to visit those sites. So that is, the Artify Sauk Center group is working on that also. The next is just a packet of data from the Google Analytics, and also the 2017 Minnesota Leisure and Hospitality Industry. I just wanted to point out, I highlighted on your pages, in the central region, Stearns County has the largest gross sales in tourism of any of the other cities listed, and also has paid the greatest amount of sales tax to the state, and has created 7,748 jobs. So tourism is extremely important. It's a huge part of our economy, and I think that as times change and we change how we present Sauk Center, that we can be a hub for tourism. We have a lot of amenities now, and they're growing as things are changing in Sauk Center. So we look forward to bringing more tourism and more tours to Sauk Center, and look forward to that.
Okay.
You want to know anything about the creamery? Because I can tell you a little bit about that, just short.
Yeah.
Okay. The 75% historic structure report is finished and sent into the state. And with that, there was several estimates of fixing the building on the outside, just the cover of the building. This will be in 2 phases. It will be the outside of the building, and the windows will be done first along with the roof. And then we'll look at the inside to see what we're going to do as far as businesses, possibly in the lower section, and the museum and Ciclaro's Foundation upstairs. But one of the estimates for the fixing the brick, the top pointing and cleaning and repairing the big holes that are inside is $394,000. The windows go from $97,000 to $169,000 to be repaired. So those are what we're sitting on. We have submitted that report. Our next process will be to get building drawings done of the actual creamery, and from there we'll do a pre-construction grant, and we will be doing more estimates of what other bids we will get for those surface areas.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
Planning Commission report?
I'll give a report tonight since I was the one at the Planning Commission meeting, but they did meet in regular session on February 12th, 2019. They had 3 public hearings that evening. The first one was for a conditional use permit for a planned unit development and preliminary plat for what is proposed to be called Pangburn Estates, which would allow 8 units, and this is on our railroad property that the city had. And we also conducted a public hearing for an amendment to the city code to potentially allow off-premise advertising signs. This was tabled until the March meeting, so you won't see activity on that tonight. The third public hearing was for a variance request to allow a third accessory building on a residential lot with a cumulative square footage of 3,648 square feet. So that first and now this third item will be action items later on your agenda. Building permits in January, and 5 permits were issued for a total of $96,616. That's it for the activity of the Planning Commission report. We do have the action on the conditional use permit for the planned unit development and for the variances. Any questions on the Planning Commission?
Questions? Comments? Okay, thank you. Move on to our action items. Approve resolution 2019-11, approving the application of Mezcal LLC, doing business as L Mezcal, for a transfer of an on-sale and Sunday liquor license.
So we do have, like you just said, an application for an on-sale and Sunday liquor license. They have paid the $100 transfer fee, the license fee, the insurance liability, workers' compensation documents have been provided. The liquor license annual sale, they have been paid. If you recall, this was the location where we had a return check for the license for last year, and the owner was making payments. Now this is going to be a new owner, and so as usual, they would prorate the license fee between the buyer and the seller. And so this guy, as the buyer, came into the city and paid the balance of that, so that it's all paid in full. These owners that are proposing to move into the downtown, this Mexican restaurant, are the people that formerly had the El Palacio, which was the one that was out east of town, where the old BMW was, or Old West, I should say, on Sinclair Lewis Avenue, the one that was right on the trail. So if you recall,
Across the street from Standard.
across the street from Standard Iron, that's probably a better explanation of where it is. And so now they're proposing to come in here and be open in March at the downtown location. So it'll be under new ownership. So they've been going through their inspections, getting their licenses in order, making some renovations and changes, and we'll hope to see them open on the 1st of March. And so that is what the request tonight is to approve the liquor license transfer, and that is resolution 2019-11 for 303 and 305 Main Street South.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2019-11?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second? Second by Joe. Any last minute comments or questions? On the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve resolution 2019-12, approving variance request.
The Planning Commission, acting as the Board of Adjustment, conducted a public hearing and held and heard a request for variances from the code for property owned by Dondi and Susanna Winiger at 106 Lincoln Street, Sauk Center. The first request was for a variance from section 156.022, accessory structures, which states no more than 2 detached accessory structures are permitted on a parcel. The request was for 3. The second request was a variance from that 156.022 subsection B2, which states on parcels greater than 90,000 square feet in the R1 zoning district that are occupied by a dwelling unit, the cumulative square feet of accessory structures and attached garages shall not exceed 2% of the total lot area. The request is for 3,648 square feet. So I did lay out for you in the packet, I don't need to read that, but the cumulative attached garage, detached, number 1, and detached number 2, their total existing, which is grandfathered in, and what's allowed per ordinance and the total requested. So you have all the statistics there. The board reviewed the proposal and determined that it would be appropriate to allow the variances and are recommending the request be approved based on these findings. The first finding is that the new building as proposed would not be injurious to the neighborhood because it would not be visible from any public way other than the Wobegon Trail due to the property location at the end of a dead-end street. The second finding was the new building would be consistent with the neighborhood as the residential lots in the neighborhood have large detached accessory buildings, and the property is located across from the Wobegon Trail from a commercial operation with large buildings. The third finding was the new building will not create additional strains on public utilities that currently serve the property because it will be primarily used for storage. Number 4, the building will provide for inside storage, which will decrease the amount of outside storage on the property. And number 5, there will not be increased runoff as a result because of the available infiltration on the property, which is primarily turf. So for those 5 findings, the Planning Commission is recommending that you approve Resolution 2019-12, approving the variances for Dondi D and Susanna N. Winiger, allowing a third accessory structure for a cumulative total square feet of 3,648 square feet. And I did include in your packet a copy of the certificate of survey, and then I did put an aerial view so you can kind of see how the property lays out. And it's my understanding the location you can see on the aerial view where his RV is sitting in that underneath the 94-58. That's kind of the area that he is proposing to build in.
Questions? Concerns? Comments? Understands where this is located. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 2019-12, approving the variances for Dondi and Susanna Winiger.
Second.
Motion by Diane, second by Heidi. Last minute comments or questions? Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve resolution 2019-13, approving CUP for PUD and preliminary plat.
It's a mouthful.
Yes.
So the planning commission conducted a public hearing and heard a request for a conditional use permit for planning and development. And it's actually Pangburn Estates, because the engineer thought it was Pangburn, so that's what we've been trying to say. But now he said, no, it's Pangburn like the brick, because that's a relative of their family. So it will be Pangburn Estates, and the preliminary, and also preliminary plat approval for a new development at 624 Railroad Avenue. And I do have a legal description in there, but it was the old Silver Fir property that the city currently owns. I did put in there the general provisions and definitions of a planned unit development. That is a type of development characterized by unified site design for a number of dwelling units or sites on a parcel, whether for sale, rent, or lease, and usually involves clustering these units or sites to provide areas of common open space. And so that is what we have there, is they would have common open space. They are 2-family dwellings, which, as you know, is 2 dwelling units attached in a single structure. And to qualify as a residential planned unit development, you must have at least 5 dwelling units. So they do meet all of that criteria. Now, the property is currently owned by the city and was previously known as Silver Fir property and is under contract with Keith Unger, who's purchasing the property for the purpose of developing it into this 8-unit or 4 twin home development. The homes are to be offered for sale and are proposed to be constructed as sold. Each home is 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and a 1.5-car garage. The project will be developed with a yard area and drive to be a common lot. Each owner will be a member of an owners association. The city came into ownership of this property when the EDA purchased it, demolished the old building, cleared the title via quiet title action, and offered it for sale for residential development. The property is currently a part of an existing planned unit development overlay district that was approved in the 1990s when the neighboring rental townhomes were constructed by Mike Roach. Because of the existing overlay district, the entire district is included in the 5-acre minimum requirement for a residential PUD. This request includes approval of setbacks that are consistent with that PRD overlay, which would be the 0 lot line for the common wall. They have the 15-foot setback from the side properties, which when you're looking at would be each end of this lot. 10 feet from the trail right of way, and there is 25 feet to the center line of the trail, so it'd be like 35 feet off there. And 18 feet 6 inches from the road right of way on Railroad Avenue, which is similar to the other units down the street. The proposal meets the city's requirement for open space based on the overlay district that it's located in, which allowed a minimum of 45% open space. This proposal is 48%. The Planning Commission recommends to the City Council that the request be approved based on these findings. Number 1, the use is consistent with the neighboring use, which is developed as a townhome development. Number 2, the setbacks proposed are consistent with the existing planned unit development overlay district that it is located in. Number 3, the water drainage from the property is proposed to be consistent with the existing drainage pattern. Number 4, the proposal will add 8 additional water and sewer services to the city infrastructure. The municipal water and sewer lines and water and sewer treatment plants have the capacity to provide these services. An owners association will be created to provide for maintenance of the common property, which includes the lawn and private drive, therefore not requiring maintenance by the city. The private drive is commonly owned by all owners within the development, which provides all lots public frontage on Railroad Avenue. The proposed preliminary plat meets the city's guidelines for preliminary plat approval and will be incorporated into the final plat. And the proposed development is consistent with the comprehensive plan, which states the city should work to create a variety of housing opportunities in the community. They do have some recommendations, and I apologize that this is a little long. Number 1, the pre-development runoff pattern and volume to remain, which drains approximately 50% toward the north and 50% toward the south. The developer to work with the city and post-development pattern or volume changes in order to install VMTs to mitigate that increase. Number 2, the existing service lines to the property will be capped at the main and Railroad Avenue. The developer is responsible to restore Railroad Avenue after that excavation. Number 3, the developer to remove the existing curb cuts on Railroad Avenue and restore the curb. Number 4, the city engineer guidelines, which include Sauk Center public utility guidelines, to be incorporated into the development for water sewer services, including sizing, manhole installation, and restoration. And I did attach for you the city engineer's recommendations. Number 5, the declaration and bylaws for the association to be provided to the city for approval and be recorded on the property along with the final plat. Number 6, a park dedication fee of $1,500 to be paid upon final approval. Number 7, turf to be established over the parcel after excavation to limit runoff. Number 8, a street identification sign to be installed along with house number identification numbers no less than 4 inches high. 9, the paving of the access drive to occur within 1 year of completion of the initial building according to the city building permit process. This one right here, we did have some discussion about waiting longer, but then the building code actually trumped that. And number 10, all conditions not completed at the time of final approval will be incorporated into a developer agreement to be executed by all parties. And number 11, this is the final one, the city to memorialize the plan unit development in an ordinance to be recorded upon the property. I also included in there a letter of intent for Pangburn Estates that was prepared by their engineer, kind of gives you some additional information. And I also included a copy of the survey, a schematic of what the home would look like. So you kind of have that, all that information to look at. And I'm not going to read that tonight. So our request tonight and the recommendation of the Planning Commission is to approve Resolution 2019-13, approving a conditional use permit for a plan unit development for the Pangburn Estates. Any questions? That was a mouthful.
Questions, comments? Everyone understands the plan is moving forward if this goes through. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2019-13, approving a conditional use permit for a planned unit development for Pangburn Estates? Motion by Joe, do I have a second? Second by Diane. Last minute comments, questions? Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve ordinance 787, approving the PUD.
So what this ordinance is actually a legal document that will be recorded on the property with the final plat, the bylaws, and the covenants when the time comes. So what this final plat, what this ordinance does is it just kind of repeats what I had said earlier about setbacks and what can be built on there, like it's a single or a two-family dwelling and those types of details. And it's basically, people in the future can look back at this recording and say, yep, this is what was approved on that property. So what we're looking to do here is approve this ordinance, and then when the final plat is approved, it will be in conformance with this ordinance, and it all gets recorded as one fell swoop. So what we're doing here is just asking to approve ordinance 787, establishing the Pangburn Estates Plan Unit Development.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 787, establishing the Pangburn Estates Plan Unit Development?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Any other comments? Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve resolution 2019-14, declaring property excess.
Stearns County Attorney's Office has released to the City Police Department one forfeited vehicle. This is a 2002 Ford F-150. The department is requesting that the City Council declare the property as excess and allow it for it to be sold. It is Resolution 2019-14.
Comments? This is something we do on a regular basis. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2019-14?
Motion.
Motion by Diane, second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approve property maintenance enforcement procedure.
Well, this is something that came from the Planning Commission, which I believe was directed originally from the council back to them. So at the January 8th, 2019 regular meeting of the Planning Commission, they discussed the code enforcement process as it relates to violations of the city code that are under the oversight of the Planning Commission. These violations mostly fall into the category of nuisances, property maintenance, and building maintenance. Currently, the policy of the city, which has been in place since before I started, is that the city staff conducts code enforcement activities on a complaint-driven basis. The city has a specific process to resolve violations of the city code, which are put into play upon receipt of a complaint. But there's been a concern that by going on this complaint-driven process, there's areas of the city that the code remains unenforced when we don't receive a complaint. So the Planning Commission has recommended to the City Council that code enforcement no longer be administered solely on a complaint-driven basis, and the city move toward a more comprehensive code enforcement policy. This would give staff the ability to enforce violations as they are witnessed and would provide for a more consistent process. So what the request here is for that, we're going to discontinue the complaint-driven only basis and just kind of move away from that. And so in addition to that, the Planning Commission is asking that the City Council provide guidance on any sections of the or provisions of the city code that they deem to be irrelevant or outdated or in need of revisions. As you know, they continually to update that code. And I think last year we did a pretty good job. I think they were sent maybe 5 or 6 items, and I believe we made it through all of them that we updated the code as a result of. And we're not asking for that tonight, just something to keep in mind. But what we are asking tonight is kind of approve the discontinuance of code enforcement solely on a complaint-driven basis, and then we'll move forward from there. Do you have any questions on that? I think, Heidi, were you on that? No, it wasn't Warren, because I was on the commission at that time. Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Basically, there's a lot of, in my opinion, and I think the planning commission went along with it, was there's a lot of codes and ordinances out there that the only reason why they're in place in the city is because someone at some point in time got mad at their neighbor or a certain group of people, so they got it enacted, so it became, and the city had no way of enforcing it in the first place. So basically now it's up to the council and the planning commission to find a way to enforce it, any of these things, or maybe we have to take it off the books. But we're not going to be any smaller than what we are, and if we don't get a handle on it now, the city's not going to keep the reputation of being a clean and friendly town if we don't start doing what we have to do. And that's the opinion that I got from the planning commission when they went with this. So, any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve the discontinuance of code enforcement solely on a complaint-driven basis?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do we have a second? Second by Joe. Any other last minute comments? Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5 in favor, none against. 7G, approve final pay request, airport runway project.
So during the, and this is your added item for tonight, during the closeout of the runway project, it was noted that only one of the PAPIs, which is the precision approach path indicators at the end of each runway, was not included in the billing. The second PAPI is now presented for payment in the amount of $8,025. We did contact the FAA, Midnight Aeronautics, and let them make them aware that this has happened, and they have not signed off on the final, and so they have agreed to include this in the final report. So it will be reimbursed to the city at 95%. So what we're looking for tonight is to approve this second final pay request for Kramer Excavating for $8,025. And that was also added to your claims, but I have a separate approval here for it.
Questions? Comments?
This is the final. This is the final, yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve pay request number 7 to Kramer Excavating for $8,025?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane.
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5 in favor, none against. 7H, approve seasonal employment and advertisement, Parks Campground.
At a prior meeting, the city council approved advertising for a seasonal campground attendant. Interviews were conducted on February 19th, 2019 by myself, Brian Fredericks, and Nikki Boat. And after interviewing the candidates and speaking with them, we came to the idea that the best way to do this is to split it into 2 roles versus just having one person there for 5 months straight. It seems to be a bit much for one person to handle, and they never get a chance to have a break. So who we talked to, they are willing to do that, and they would like to split the positions. They both have accepted the position pending your approval, and what we offered was $11,000 for the total position, and that would be split between the two hires based off of a percentage of the days worked. So if one of the teams works 3 days a week and the other works 4 days a week, then the one that works 4 days a week is going to receive a larger percentage of that 11,000 through the season. Scott Willer is the first candidate, and Pat and Harold Reed is the other team that would be willing to come in and do that position for them.
Do we lose the seasonal site?
We don't.
Having two, so they're splitting, they're sharing the,
There's 2 spots right when you first drive in.
Yeah.
Those would be the 2 spots that we utilize. And the one spot was never actually rented out during the summer last
Okay.
year, so you wouldn't see much of a change in revenue.
okay.
Income side, so. The second item is the park board is requesting approval to advertise for summer seasonal help with mowing and other seasonal activities. The college student that we've utilized in prior years is not going to be returning to us this summer.
Okay. Questions? Do we, okay, the 11,000 we're taking, so the increase is more than the budget, right?
Is that an increase?
That was budgeted.
That's
Was it
what I thought.
budget? Okay, for some reason I was, it was
I think
85.
we've slowly moved up over the last few years, just because the workload of the park board is that recommended increase each year. Am I right, Matt?
Yeah. So that amount was budgeted.
I know we've gone up and down a couple of times in the last few years based on experience.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Do I have a motion to approve the campground attendant as presented and authorize advertisement for seasonal work employment?
So moved.
A motion by Dave, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other last minute comments or questions? Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against.
Thank you.
We'll then move on to unfinished business. Rental ordinance.
The rental ordinance is just a little informational. At the last council meeting, we requested that the policy committee research and possibly recommend a rental inspection ordinance. We have gathered information from several cities, including inspection criteria, information regarding statutory authority, a database of rentals in the city, and we have discovered we have about 725 rental units in Sauk Center. And then we also looked at potential inspectors, fee comparisons, and timelines. And so I will be presenting this to the policy committee for review and recommendation. If any council member has any specifics they would like reviewed, please let me know so I can include that for the policy committee. We still have some more information to gather. And so I would hope that in the next 30 days, the two will be able to get together and come back with a appropriate rental ordinance and a procedure to answer questions, because I would anticipate a mailing to all of these owners, public meetings, and before we ever even adopt it, just informational, I think, because I think they're going to be able to give us a lot of feedback so we get the right ordinance for Sauk Center. And so I'm asking that you provide me with that information. And other than that, I don't have any action for you tonight, just kind of filling you in on where we're at in the process.
Questions?
Would this require a public hearing or just more of like a community?
When we actually adopt the ordinance, and then we're controlling their property, so then we would have a public hearing at that time.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Local option sales tax.
I did provide for you in your packet a copy of House File 0392, authored by Representative Paul Anderson, which is the proposal to approve a local option sales tax for Sauk Center. The bill was forwarded to Briggs & Morgan, who was our legal counsel for bonding, just to make sure that the language of the bill supports the ability to use tax proceeds for bond payments in the future. It has now been forwarded to the House Tax Committee, and I found out now it's going to be heard Monday, the 25th of February. So if anyone on the council is interested in testifying in front of that House Committee down at the State Office Building, it is Monday. I don't have an exact date yet. The Senate Companion Bill 659, authorized by Tory Western, has now been read into the Senate and referred to the Senate Tax things are moving quite quickly. I heard from the League of Minnesota Cities today, Gary Carlson, he's kind of their legislative guy. If any of you went to any meetings, you probably heard an update from them. He's actually going to be there, and there's several cities that are there that day, and kind of help champion the cause for each of us, giving us some ideas on things to say, information to provide, and that type of thing. So they're going to help us with that. So Paul Anderson has called me a couple times on it as well. And Tori Westrom, I spoke to him, and this is the first sales tax bill he has sponsored, so we're in new ground for him. So this will be exciting. I hope the weather is nice on Monday for whoever gets to drive down there. But our time frame is noon to 8 p.m. So it could happen anytime during that time period. So just let you know if anybody wants to go, but I'm pretty sure I'll be going. And but I would invite anybody else that's interested in going along.
Questions or comments? Anyone volunteer to go with Vicki?
Not true on that.
We can.
What's that? Still true on that. Yeah.
St. Clair Lewis statue in the library.
This is just a little bit update on that statue project. You know, we kind of mentioned it once before, and nothing, it's not real formal yet, and you'll get a formal presentation. I just wanted to let you know I was invited to the Artify Committee, which is that subcommittee of the Community Foundation, and that fundraising is underway, including some grant applications. They've secured a lot of donations, and you might have heard about a sale of granite blocks. I did email you a copy of that. If any of you look, it's kind of what it would look like. It's like the ones that we would put in the park embedded in concrete. So it's granite. It's not like a paver that's going to wear away. I did send you or I emailed you kind of a proposal that Pam showed you a second one tonight, but either one of them still are not the final, how it's going to be located. That actual location will be determined in the spring based on utilities, based on our future needs, based on landscaping, mowing, you know, all those kinds of things. So that'll happen on site. They do plan to make a formal proposal to the city council in another date, but I know that there's been a lot of talk out there about it, and there's been a lot of excitement about it, so I didn't want any of you to feel like you were kind of left out of the loop. So Pam happens to stay for the meeting, so if you have any specific questions about it, you can certainly ask her. Otherwise, their group will come kind of with a formal presentation and asking for final approval in an upcoming meeting.
Any questions, Pam? Okay. 8D, engineers report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. So the Phase 2 portion of the 2018 Capital Improvements Project is scheduled to be constructed this coming summer. Looking ahead past the snow, we anticipate construction to start around the beginning of May. Before then, we have some work to do with the city and hospital staff and the contractor. We need to go over site access, traffic management, hospital MRI truck schedule, hospital food and supply deliveries, garbage pickup, as well as mostly access the backside of the hospital at Lakeshore and 5th Street. So we'll be kind of in the middle of construction. Kind of one of the critical items in the project this summer. That'll happen about mid-March, and then mid-April we'll send out a notification to the residents, just talking schedule, phasing details, parking details, and any other pertinent information on that. And then just an update on the 10-foot additional easement in the west alley. All 16 of those have been completed in the process and recorded at the Stearns County office. Done, and we're currently working with the utility companies to relocate the utilities in the alley, communication wires, electrical, and gas as well, just to better organize that alley now that we have additional easement there.
Okay.
The pond.
Is that
The
big?
ponds.
Oh, sure. The ponds, they have been dug and graded. Yeah, as of December, and there's that standstill now with diligent plans on getting to those once the thaw and spread the topsoil and complete the seeding and the rest of the pond. So as soon as weather allows, so let's re-spread the topsoil
Okay.
and shade
make sure that we include the school, the bus garage in those discussions as they affect the students in May.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
We have no new business. Now brings us to our consent agenda. We have scheduled claims, unpaid claims of $136,412.72, paid claims of $41.75, for a total of $136,454.47. Also have a list of January checks for a total of $978,316.61. Do we have any questions on this consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second? Diane is a second. Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items, hazardous waste collection, June 12th.
Just so you know that they have scheduled the hazardous waste drop-off event for June 12th at the Civic Arena parking lot from 9 to 1. And this is something, the only thing we have different this year now is they are required by OSHA to have a wash station, like if somebody gets spilled on or whatever, so we're trying to work with them on that, on how we can set up a wash station using either the arena somehow, or if they have to bring in a portable shower or whatever they're gonna do. So it's one thing that'll be a little bit different. Otherwise, they'll be taking the same chemicals and paint and that type of thing. And now, in coming dates, pretty soon you'll see where we'll have our scrap metal day and kind of those events. It's going to be summer, I'm told.
I'll volunteer with that.
Pardon me?
I'll volunteer to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on that? That brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Heidi, second by Dave. Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.